Choice theory and quality education. Choice theory is the work of William Glasser, born in 1925. He's an American psychologist. He has over 40 years of practical experience in the field of psychology and education. He came up with choice theory. Choice theory is simply the idea that behavior is central to our whole existence, as well as, and all human misery is controlled by people trying to control others. So, in a way, choice theory is basically saying that everything that you decide to do is internal. All right, and choice theory is actually an alternative to behaviorism, where behaviorism, you have Skinner, you give them a treat, they do what you want. This is, no, they're just going to do whatever they want because they control themselves. So it contends that we are internally motivated and we always have the capacity to make choices that affect our own lives. And these choices are effective in real time. It's what you want at that moment. So it also has an emphasis on building personal relationships and building things to a shared vision. And in fact, he says the only behavior we can control is our own, and by the same token, no one can make us do anything that we don't want to. And we only realize this when we give up trying to control other people and realize that they're going to do what they want to do regardless of what you're trying to tell them. What also motivates us is that our basic needs, like Maslow has told us that we need food, shelter, clothing. We need to feel like that we belong, that we feel loved, that we have some freedom in our lives, that we have, power or significance in our lives over something, and then also fun and learning. So now, it was originally called control theory, but he switched it to choice theory in 1996. And Claire has nicely drawn this diagram, and I will be referring back to it in a little bit. So just bear with me. That's the basis of choice theory. There's the flow chart. So now, each of us develops a quality world. Now this quality world is over here and here. And now, basic needs represent the nature part of our needs, and the quality world represents our nurture part, the environment that we're raised in. So like, quality world includes people's activities, values, beliefs, and everything that's important to you. So, and everything that we place in this quality world is need satisfying. So it satisfies some need that we have. And so, for example, like, I love those people, they satisfy some need that I have. Or I have a sense of power, like when I'm talking to you guys, I feel like, oh, I got so much power because everybody's listening to me. So, and another example, like you guys were saying, recess earlier. I have fun when I'm playing outside with children during recess. That's a satisfying need. So, really nice if that part works. Thank you. So, throughout our lives, this quality world perspective, we add and delete items as we go along. As we grow, as we mature, we find other things that suit our needs better, and we indulge in those activities or things. So like, some people do develop quality world pictures, Glasser states, that are unhealthy or unethical, like drug addiction, alcoholism, or some other activity that's taboo in our society. But like, one of the examples is people who take drugs or drink alcohol to solve problems. But choice theory suggests that anyone in the community can promote and provide an environment that allows these people to make good choices on their own terms, rather than saying, no, you have to do it this way or it's the highway. No, everything's internal. They have that choice to either promote good activities and good behaviors, or go the other route, which is non-productive behaviors or self-destructive behaviors. So, even though all of us live in the real world, what really matters is our perception of reality. Behavior is based on what we perceive to be real rather than what is actually happening, whether we're right or wrong. So like, choice theory states that in our flow chart that all this information that we perceive has to pass through several filters, like the reality filter, your senses, your knowledge, and your values. It all has to go and get processed through this in order to get to your perception of the world. So when you perceive this, this is also the reason why two people can witness the same event but have
Totally different.
radically different perceptions of a robbery or whatever. So now, with these two places, this our perception and this quality world that we've built, we constantly compare those two. And when we have a match in the behavior that we perceive, it satisfies that need. When there isn't a match, when there's an internal mismatch, we will find another behavior that will satisfy that need. So, all behavior has 4 total components: acting, thinking, feeling, and physiology. Now we know that we can't change we can change our behavior, but we can't change like acting and thinking, we can't change feelings or physiology directly, but we can change our acting and thinking, Glasser states. So, like, since all 4 of them work together, we can change how we act and think, and that turns over to being able to control how our feeling and how our physiology actually works. So, practitioners of choice theory usually help people choose these responsible actions rather than these destructive actions. So, conclusions of Glasser's choice theory: all human behavior is purposeful. We are responsible for our own behavior. All our behaviors are attempt to meet 5 basic needs. At least half of our students will not commit themselves to learning if they find their school experience frustrating. That's really important because you see a lot of students today. I even had one in a practicum who just doesn't do anything. He has no motivation. He doesn't want to do a darn thing. And it's so hard to get him to go, hey, you might want to learn this because it might be useful down the road. But, it plays into that he can choose not to do anything, and I can try to choose to motivate him, but in essence, it's his choice. So, and few students in schools do their best work. So, for schools and teachers to be successful, an environment needs to be provided where these good behaviors can blossom. Students should be allowed to research topics on their own, independently, and find out what they actually want to learn by themselves. So you're letting the student actually choose what they study and let them follow their interests. So quality learning is also evident when students answer the how and why of a question, rather than just answering the question and giving you a blatant, generic, yeah, this is it. But why? How? When you get that deeper understanding, when you can answer those 2 questions about the question, then you understand. Instead of punishment, teachers should provide stimulation and encouragement and show unending willingness to help you. So Glasser, I'm running short on time. 2 types of teachers. There's boss teachers and there's lead teachers. Boss teachers is exactly as it sounds. Lead teachers are leading you. Choice theory emphasizes 3 things for education: provides a curriculum that's genuinely attractive, uses non-coercive discipline to help them make responsible choices, and it also emphasizes quality in all aspects of teaching and learning. We can skip that.
No, you can keep on. I mean, you still have. We just give you
Do
the
I have
minute.
still- do I have time? Okay, go back.
You have 30 seconds till 10 minutes.
Oh, okay,
We're just
all right.
giving you the.
All right, great. So, non-coercive discipline is actually one of Glasser's terms, he wants to force students to behave in ways that are contrary to their inclinations to misbehavior, and trying to tell them that their behavior is bad is pretty much worthless, because once again, it's their choice. His solution is to give them work that they find interesting and meaningful to them, to that student, that they're actually going to find purpose with what they're learning. So when you're also dealing with apathy and unwillingness, you need to challenge that student more, because they're not being challenged. They're bored. They want to get out of that class because they feel they know this. Or the other half of that is they just don't want to do it. They don't find it challenging. So Glasser states that our education system is not giving priority to students' needs: survival, free, and safety. School shootings, we're not providing a safe school. Belonging, bullying, we're not providing a safe environment once again. Power, we don't give our students any power. We say, here, do this, come back to me, I'll grade it and give you a grade. I just don't see our teachers today actually giving students duties and responsibilities like in the real world, because you got to get up at 8 a.m. in the real world and go to work. And he also frequently mentions the value of cooperative learning and group learning, and because they're not going to learn everything from you. They're going to learn from their interactions from their peers, people in their community, so on and so forth. So Glasser also urges teachers to work to provide that warm classroom environment that's good for learning, and use lead teaching rather than boss teaching. Draw information out instead of trying to pack information in. And only ask your students to do things that are useful and meaningful to them, because you can teach them a bunch of stuff that they're never going to use again, but what good is it, really?
He also talks about a quality curriculum and says that present-day education consists of too much of memorizing facts that are irrelevant to children's lives. He thinks the quality of teaching now is judged by how many fragments of information students can retain long enough to be measured on tests. And if schools are to be effective, they must be converted into places where students learn useful information and they learn it well. If students are old enough, you may ask them to identify what they'd like to explore in depth, and once the topics are chosen, they should be given enough time to be learned effectively, because it's more effective to learn a smaller number of topics in depth than it is to cover a lot of topics in a short time. Quality learning requires depth of understanding combined with a good grasp of value. And students should be expected to be called on, and when you call on them, they should be able to explain to you why what they're learning is valuable and what they can do with it. And then a little more on choice theory. He believes given a high level of motivation, students can learn almost anything. Educators have assumed an external control determines motivation, so that's why they try to reward them in order to get them to learn and do something. But really all students will do is what satisfies them at any given time. And if they choose to work hard, it's because they got satisfaction from doing it and they enjoyed it, so they want to do it again. And the payoff for their efforts must be sufficient to keep them working and want to keep doing it. Glasser emphasizes that what we do is not automatically determined by external causes, but by what goes on inside of us. So basically, we can't make them learn. We can't tell them to sit down and learn something. They have to want to do it. And all we can do is open possibilities, provide the information, and expose the students to good role models like ourselves. And then he really emphasizes the relationship between students and teachers, and says that a lot of the problems are because of deadly habits that teachers have that cause bad relationship, which are criticizing, blaming, complaining, nagging, threatening, punishing, and rewarding students to control them. And says that we should focus more on the connecting habits, which are caring, listening, supporting, contributing, encouraging, trusting, and befriending. He actually thinks that we should befriend the kids and treat them how we relate to our friends. This is just a case study. I was going to have you guys answer. Christina, a student in Mr. Jake's class, is quite docile. She socializes little with other students and never disrupts lessons. However, despite Mr. Jake's best efforts, Christina will not do her work. She rarely completes an assignment. She is simply there putting forth no effort at all. So what would William Glasser suggest to help Christina and Mr. J?
Let's get some feedback. Oh, yeah, let's get some feedback. So what would William Glasser?
What would Glasser suggest? Come on, anybody? Nobody? Come on.
To give her something to do that she's interested in.
That would be a good suggestion. Anybody else?
Find out what motivates her, and then
Excellent. All right,
Just
let's-
keep motivating her.
Keep motivating them. So let's see what they said.
suggest that Mr. J think carefully about the classroom and program and try to determine whether there's obstacles to Christina's needs. Mr. J should discuss the issue with Christina and not blame her, but just note the problem and ask what the problem is and what he can do to help her. And ask her questions like, you have a problem with this work, don't you? Is there anything I can do to make it more interesting for you? Is there anything we have talked about in class that you enjoy? Or what could I do differently that would help?
So he suggests doing some self-reflection.